Hello, I'm the Doctor.
Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 27. Hope all you guys have had a wonderful week. How have you been, buddy?
Yeah, I've been good, mate, actually. Yeah, I've just polished off a book called Who's There, which is about the first Doctor. Well, about William Hartnell, actually, about his life and career. Yep. So I've been finishing that and really enjoyed it, actually. I didn't know all that much about Mr. Hartnell, so that's been enlightening. It's written by his actual granddaughter.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, that's been good. I quite like a good biography.
We like a good read. I like a good biography.
Yeah. I tend to sort of listen to audiobooks rather than read, just for sort of timing, because I can do other things, like the ironing and stuff like that. So, so that's what I've been mostly sort of doing in my spare time this week.
Cool.
How about you?
Not much, really. I've been busy with the old day job.
All work and no play.
Exactly, mate, yeah. Other than that, just been conversing with all of our cool listeners on Facebook and Twitter.
Yes, yeah. We've had some good comments this week and stuff, so
yeah,
thank you to everyone who's jumped on.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've had a whole raft of new Facebook followers and Twitter followers and Facebook likes and people saying hi, so that's really cool. Welcome aboard the Big Blue Box.
Hello to the new people and hello to the old people.
Hello everyone.
Hello to the middle-aged people.
The middle-aged people.
I'm not sure which bracket I fall into, and I'm not going to go there.
You're gonna leave it there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah, but hello to the new people. Cool.
Yeah, hi everybody. Really good to have you on board. It's and as usual, we really like having your comments and your views and all that stuff when we talk about the review episodes, and it really helps us. I don't know. When we decide which episodes we're going to review, because Adam and I have got like a schedule, haven't we?
We only started it really in the new year, didn't we? We decided it would be good to sort of to get a schedule going, whereas before we were sort of picking them very randomly before we recorded and stuff. So I think we've been trying to sort of pick ones that perhaps we don't know as well. Would you say, ones that we sort of haven't watched that much, and going back to see if they're better than we remember and that sort of thing. Yeah,
we've tried to pick ones that are not the really popular ones that people always talk about anyway. We've tried to get a good mix of different Doctors and episodes, ones that really divide opinion, really. So, but one of the things that I always look forward to is is reading the Facebook comments and thoughts, because there's some really funny ones sometimes, and some ones that really make you think differently as well about the story. People might just mention it, even just a simple, sentence about an episode can really turn it around. So, it's really cool.
Yeah, and also episodes really divided opinion, certain ones as well. That's another good thing about picking an episode that's perhaps not universally sort of thought of as brilliant, is you get a good sort of diversion of opinion on it. And I like that. It's good to get a different viewpoint from people.
Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
So thanks for all your comments.
Yeah. Rightio. No more stuff that we've been up to. So shall we jump into the news?
Yeah, let's land it.
Yeah, cool.
I had visions of the unearthly child landing on that one. Like, xylophone music rattling all over the TARDIS, but maybe not. Maybe it was a good one. I love that, actually. I love that scene. They're all just falling around. Such a great episode.
One of the TARDIS landings that has got me intrigued now is, I think on the last episode you mentioned one of the McCoy TARDIS landings where it comes out of a rainbow or something.
The rainbow landing from Time of the Rani, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, you've got all that to come.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Rightio. First bit of news. Mr. Davison has been in the press. Quite a controversial subject as well, because as you can recall, when Matt Smith left, and there was a lot of debate and rumour and chatter about which actor would take over the role as the Doctor. There was, I think this has happened the last 2 times as well, where there's quite a big, there's quite a large collection of people who would quite like to see a female Doctor.
Mm.
And Mr. Davison has been chatting to ABC News over in America, I assume, and he said that he has trouble with the idea of a female Doctor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's not keen on the idea, is he?
Because what he's saying is, and he does actually caveat, he does actually say that he's speaking as a fan, purely as a fan, not as somebody involved with the show. But he was saying that he reckons that if you're born on Gallifrey a man, then you're probably a male Time Lord, which is, I don't know, is that fair to say? Or is that a bit of an assumption that we don't know? Because we don't really know too much about the Time Lords in terms of, their history and their future, because we really only see one of them a lot of the time. So, what do you reckon?
I'm not sure. I can't decide where I stand on this. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I really don't know, because I think if it was done right, if you got a really sort of good cast, good casting with a female Doctor, I think it could work. But my gut feeling is that it should be a man. I mean, I sort of feel as soon as you start saying we should get a female Doctor, I kind of feel like it's being done for the wrong reasons. Does that make sense? I feel like it's just being done to be politically correct and not for the actual benefit of the show.
Yeah, I agree.
It seems like the reason for changing the role is the wrong reason to me. I don't sort of have a, it's not sexist, and that's the thing. As soon as you say you don't want a female Doctor, you're immediately pounced on.
Yes,
and it's unfair, because it's nothing to do with that. It's not. I don't have a problem with envisaging, or whatever the word is, a female Doctor. I can imagine it. I can imagine it working quite well, but I just sort of feel that the reasons for doing it would be wrong, and I don't know. My gut feeling is it should be a man, but if we were to get a female Doctor, I think it could work. But my feeling is I think Peter Davison has a point.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those things where I've mentioned it. I think I've mentioned it previously on the show, and I always feel like I'm on a bit of shaky ground with the female listeners, and it really is. It's difficult because I'm the same as you. It's not a sexist thing at all. It has nothing to do with any other reason. I just feel that the dynamic wouldn't be quite right on the show. Personally, when Capaldi leaves and they cast a woman, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm be disappointed or anything like that. It's just, I just feel that the show works the way it does with a male Doctor. I think it works well. And Davison does go on to say, he says, it seems to me that if you reverse it and you have an uncertain, fallible female Doctor with a really strong male companion, you've just got more of a stereotype than anything else.
Yeah, and I think that's where he's got a bit of a point, really.
Yeah, and I think Dabib and whoever showrunner at the time and that sort of thing, I think they should stand their ground, really, because I think with this type of thing, it can you do have people making decisions because there's a lot of pressure from fans or certain groups of fans who really want to do it. So I just think it's one of those things where if it doesn't feel like it's the right thing to do, then don't do it. Like you say, don't do it just because there's a lot of chatter about people wanting a female Doctor. If it doesn't feel right, then don't do it.
Exactly. I mean, I let's put it this way. If we got a female Doctor, if Capaldi was to regenerate into a female Doctor, I wouldn't stop watching. I'd still watch it every week, and I'm sure I'd still enjoy it. And I still think it would be a great show. I think it would still work. But I just think, it does then become a different show.
Yeah.
And that can work in two ways. It can, it can rejuvenate the show. I mean, after all, this show's been going for 50 odd years, so it can rejuvenate it. It can make it different and freshen it up. But also, it then does change it from the initial sort of concept. And I think that's where I have the problem. It's nothing to do with the sort of gender. It's just that you're sort of changing the format.
Yeah.
And as I say, that could be a good thing. It can keep things fresh, but at the end of the day, you are changing that format, and that's where I have an issue with it.
Agreed, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a bit like Missy. I love the character of Missy, but I really wanted it to be the Rani. I saw no point in her changing to be the master, turning out to be the master, other than to be sort of politically correct and to sort of mix things up a bit. It just seemed it was all done for the wrong reason to me. If she'd have turned out to be the Rani, I would have thought that was excellent.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the Doctor. If it was to change, it would just be done, to sort of be controversial and to mix things up and possibly for the wrong reasons, I think.
Yeah, I remember you saying actually about Missy, and you were hoping that it was going to be the Rani. I remember you saying that, yeah.
I just thought she would have been, fantastic, because I love Kate O'Mara as the Rani, and I think she will always be the Rani to me. But I do think, I really liked Missy. I loved the performance, and I thought, she, I could see her as the Rani. It would have worked for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So female Doctor, Davison reckons it wouldn't work. I kind of agree with that, and like to just reinforce that on the Big Blue Box podcast we're not sexist in any way. It's just the way we feel about the dynamic of the show.
I'm kind of on the fence, I guess, if you like.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to other news, and this I didn't know about this until very soon before we started recording, actually, about this book.
Okay.
There's this campaign underway.
Yeah.
For a book about K9, and I love K9.
Affirmative.
I thought that was one of my toys going off for a minute. No, I do. I love K9. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up, and one of the things I always wanted was a K9. And if I could go, I'll tell you what, if I had a real TARDIS, one thing I would do is I would go back in time and find my sort of 5-6-year-old self, and I would give him the K9 toy, like the quarter size one or whatever, the big one.
Adam.
I would to go back and give myself that toy as a kid. Wow, that's all I ever wanted as a kid. So I love K9.
Oh, dude, you're choking us up a little bit here.
No, I would. It's weird. I think I was thinking about this the other day because it was an idea for a video I had. I'd love to do that. I'd love to just go back and give myself that toy, because I can remember building one, and I even wrote to a certain TV show that we're not allowed to talk about these days, asking if somebody could fix it for me to have one. And I just always wanted a K9. So,
oh, mate.
Yeah. So anyway, before we wipe away your tears, and there's this campaign underway for the Essential Book of K9. Who's actually come up with the idea of this?
It's the
Mr. Tam.
Mr. Paul Tams, who is the he was the co-creator of the K9 series. Yeah, and he feels that that there's never been a dedicated book to the entire story of K9 and his adventures with different people, like obviously the Doctor, but also Sarah Jane and some other people. So he feels that there's a more in-depth story that needs to be told for the little fella.
Would you buy the book if it came out? I think I would.
It'd be cool. In fact, the whole thing with this book is it's being crowdfunded at the moment through. It's not Kickstarter. It is a site called Indiegogo.
Indiegogo.
Yeah, which is a very similar concept. So what I'll do is I'll put the link to that in the show notes. So you just need to go on there, and you can donate as much as you want, really. I think it's just a case of, because at the moment their goal is £5,000, and they've raised £1,700 so far.
Good start.
So they're about 35% of the way there, and they've got about just under 2 months left. And you can donate as much as you want from £1 upwards, and it's very similar to Kickstarter. The more you donate, the more stuff you get back, basically. So it's a good thing. I think it's because there hasn't really been much about K9, has there? There's been the book that came out by who's the guy that voiced K9? His name is
John Leeson.
Yeah, he had a book out, didn't he?
Yes, yeah. Well, I think it was more about him, called Tailwags or something, I think. But
something
it's more about his career, but obviously the majority of it, I would assume, is about him,
Yeah, so we haven't really had much in the way of K9 in terms of books and novels and stuff or anything like that. So, I think it's cool.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of the little tin fella, you might want to go and donate to that. And like I say, you're going to put a link in, aren't you? Yeah,
I'll stick a link in the show notes. And even if you go over there and just put £1 on or a £5, that'll go a long way to getting the book sorted out. So let's do that.
The Essential Book of K9. Sounds good.
Moving on, the book that we spoke to you guys about a couple of episodes ago, or the series of books, should I say, that are coming out soon, called Lethbridge Stewarts. The first one is launching at the end of Feb, and for those of you that don't know, there's a really cool shop in London called the Who Shop, which is completely independent of the BBC or anything like that, and they're having a launch day, and they're going to get some people there signing a book and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to go to this, mate. What about you?
Are you? Well, do you know what? I used to live quite close to the Who Shop, and I used to love going in there because it is like an Aladdin's cave. I live miles away from it now. It's not that easy for me to get to, which is a shame because I just used to love going there all the time. So I don't know. When actually is it?
It is on Saturday, the 28th of February at the Who Shop. And what I'll do is in the show notes as well, I'll stick a link to the Who Shop website so you guys can get the address and all that stuff. It's really easy to get to if you get a training into London. You just need to jump on the tube and get off at, I think it's West Ham or Upton Park, something like that.
Yeah, it moves slightly. I know it used to be in a different location, and
yes.
I can't. Yeah, I think it's Upton Park. It's near. Yeah,
and it's literally a 5-10 minute walk maximum from the tube station. So, but it's a wonderful little shop. Didn't you say that it's an Aladdin's cave? You describe it as.
Yeah, I mean, I could just go and lose hours in there because it's got so much stuff in there, and they've got a little museum, and you sort of walk through this TARDIS, like a full size proper TARDIS. You walk through it, and it goes sort of to the back of the shop, and there's all these props and costumes that they've bought over the years, like original props and costumes. So they've got like a little Doctor Who museum behind the shop, which is just great. And I think it's like £2 or something to go in. But the thing that's bizarre is you can't take any photos in the shop, but you can take as many as you want in the museum, which is good because you can take pictures of all the costumes. I did put some pictures on Geeks Handbag Facebook page, but it's a while back. But if anyone's interested, just have a look at my photos. There's an actual photo album I put on there of some of the cool pictures. And I know they've added loads more new stuff since I went, which was a few years ago. It's a great little shop. But who's actually appearing at this? Is Gemma Redgrave's there, isn't she? She's going to be signing. Is that right?
Not Gemma Redgrave, no.
Sure, I thought she was there.
It will be Andy Frankham-Allen, who... so the first book in the series, The Forgotten Son, he's going to be there to sign it. There'll also be Hannah Haseman, who's the granddaughter of Mervyn Haseman, who created The Great Intelligence.
Terrance Dicks.
Terrance Dicks will be there.
Oh, yep. Terrance is great. Have you ever met Terrance?
No.
Oh, he's such a legend.
I've heard Terrance. He's really, yeah.
I would like to know. I'd like to know what he thought about the female master, actually, because Terrance doesn't mince his words, and I kind of get the feeling because he co-created the master character, didn't he?
Yes.
So I'm guessing would they have needed his permission to do it or not? I don't know. Probably not, actually.
Probably
I guess
not
it's
these
just
days.
casting.
Yeah.
But I wonder what he thinks of it because he's normally a bit not outspoken, but he's not afraid to express his opinion when it comes to these things. And maybe if you do go, you could ask him for me if I don't make it.
Sorry, Adam, I do apologise, my friend. Gemma Redgrave is there. Sorry, yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought she was because I remember that was one of the faces that sort of popped up when I was looking at this earlier. Yeah, I thought she was going to be there.
Yeah.
So I've never met her. That'd be good.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. So Saturday the 28th of Feb. You can just go down there, pick the book up, get it signed, meet a few Who faces, and you can get some really cool stuff in that shop as well.
You can, take some money with you because it's just so much great stuff.
You tend to find stuff in the corner that you didn't know was meant to be there. So it's one of those shops where it's got a very much a family, oldies, worldy kind of feel to it. It's not like a brand new shop with like wooden floors or anything like that. It's got a really nice, cozy feel to it, and they've got all like the official BBC merchandise stuff, haven't they? They've got all that stuff, but they've also got just tons of stuff that you didn't even know was like. You'll be looking at a shelf in the corner and you'll see like a signed Tom Baker something, and you'll be like, where did that come from? And it's just it's a really
remember
cool.
Loads of Cybermen helmets up really high as well. Sort of just when I thought I'd seen everything in the shop, I suddenly looked up and there's all these Cybermen heads up on the wall, and just everywhere you look, there's just cool stuff. If I didn't know better, I'd think my partner moved just to get me away from that shop. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised because you could lose days in there. It's brilliant.
It's very cool. So Saturday 28th of Feb, get over there. We'll see you there.
Get over there,
yeah. Right, I think is that gonna wrap for news? No,
there is one other bit of news, which is Mr. Eccleston has been doing the rounds, promoting his new TV series called Fortitude, I believe.
Yes, this looks quite good actually.
Well, the thing, it's on Sky, isn't it? And I don't have Sky, so I kind of, as soon as I saw the word Sky, I immediately, sounds awful, but I immediately lost interest because I can't watch it. But does it look good? Yeah, tell me about it. It looks good, does it?
Yeah, it does. It's from what I can gather, it's this tiny little village set out in the middle of like Iceland or Norway or something like that. And it's like a self-contained little town, and there's meant to be no crime and everybody gets on, but there's like mysterious goings on and there's a couple of murders and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I did tune in because Chris Eccleston was on the One Show this week on Monday, and I did tune in, but I was just tuning in really hoping that they might ask him about Doctor Who, but they didn't. And apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but apparently his publicist has been telling people in these interviews not to mention it. There was a newspaper report this week where apparently a reporter was told 3 times not to talk to him about Doctor Who, and he did eventually sort of pluck up the courage just to briefly mention it. I think he said to him something like, "So what do you think of Peter Capaldi's take on the Doctor then?" And apparently the phone just went dead. And then the publicist come on the line and said, "Christopher has put the phone down on you." So wow. I don't know if this, I don't know, how much of this is exaggerated or what, but it does seem that he doesn't want to acknowledge Doctor Who. And, I guess he's promoting a new show. He doesn't want to talk about it, but it does seem a shame. He really seems to desperately want to distance himself from the show. And it saddens me because I really like Doctor Number 9. I really like Chris as the Doctor, and I just want him to embrace it a little bit more,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think it's one of those things with Chris where I think that he was just giving people lip service shortly after he left. He was giving people lip service shortly after he left the show. That you know what that saying means, right? Where he's just he's saying things to people because that's what people want to hear.
Oh right, okay,
He's paying people lip service, and I know where your mind was going.
Yeah, sorry, I obviously mix in different circles.
Jesus, right.
Sorry.
So
don't mean to bring the podcast down and say sorry, listeners.
Right, when he left the show, people were interviewing him. He was very much, because there was lots of rumours that he had some clashes with the producers and where the show was going, and he really wasn't happy with the direction the show was going in as well as his character. But then when he left the show, because he got the hump, from what it sounds like anyway, instead of just like, giving the show a bad name and saying to people, I left the show because it was crap and I didn't like where it was going and blah, blah, blah. He was basically said, I'm really proud of what we achieved. I'm really happy with it. And that's that. And I think he's just saying that because he doesn't want to cause a ruckus with anything. He just wants to leave it flat, leave it dead. Mm. And when he does things like this, that just reinforces that theory to me, because whenever he's doing promos for anything else that he's done since, and somebody even just mentions the show, anyone says anything to do with Doctor Who or the Doctor himself, he just goes cold and he just shuts off, and you don't get anything else from him. And I've seen a couple of interviews where people have said to him, there was one interview where he was doing some red carpet event and he just walked off. Somebody said, something about the show. So just something, like you mentioned earlier when someone said, how do you think Peter Capaldi's doing as a Doctor? It was just a real light-hearted question like that. And he just walked off, in a bit of a strop. And I don't know why he distanced himself so much from the show. It's not as if like he got really bad reviews or him, playing the Doctor got reviewed really badly. And it's like a bit of a shameful kind of red dot on your CV. He got, a lot of people praised him at the time. And although he's not, in my opinion, the best Doctor from the newer stuff, I certainly really liked a lot of the the qualities that he brought to the Doctor, and I really enjoy some of his episodes. So
definitely, and I think he was part of the success of it when it came back. I think he helped to make it a good comeback.
Absolutely, yeah.
The thing is, it just made me think of what we were talking about in last week's podcast with David Tennant, how we were saying, when he got that award, how he really does embrace the show, and yet he still managed to have a really great career, and he doesn't appear to have a problem, talking about Doctor Who. It's not like he's sort of saying, oh, well, I did that years ago, I'm doing Broadchurch now. There's none of that with Tennant.
No.
And obviously they're very different actors. You can't expect everyone to be the same. But it's just that they couldn't be more opposite, could they? I mean, if I was to bump into Chris on the street, I mean, when I lived in London, I genuinely used to bump into celebs all the time, because that's how I've got all my photos. People used to say, oh, how'd you meet these people? I just used to, you'd see them on the street and you'd think, oh, would I go up to them? If I bumped into Chris, I think I'd be terrified to ask him for a picture. I don't think because he's got that look in his eye, and he might be a really nice man, but he in interviews, he always comes across really guarded, and especially, like you said, if they sort of even mention, Doctor Who to him, he just doesn't want to talk about it at all.
No, it's
a shame.
Yeah,
and I can understand him wanting to, all actors, no actor wants to be typecast. They all want to have a illustrious career. Totally get that. But it's a shame he just can't embrace it a little bit more, because, he played an important part in the show, and I think he'd done a really good job.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where in many years' time, when David Tennant or Matt Smith, when their career has kind of wound down a little bit, and they're towards the age of like Colin Baker and that sort of thing, I can completely see them at conventions, doing the whole convention thing. I can't see Chris doing that at all, ever.
No, I can't. I was just about to ask you, actually, if you could imagine. I can't ever see him doing it, ever.
No.
I just don't think he's that sort of actor at all. I think he takes his profession very seriously. And I just don't. I'm not saying it's below him, but I just can't ever see him doing it.
No, which is a shame, because, like you say, he was a pretty good Doctor. I really enjoy some of his stuff, and the more you watch him, the more you want to see more of him. But he just doesn't want anything to do with it. So
no, and we'll revisit some of his episodes in upcoming podcasts as well. And I'm looking forward to rewatching some of his stories, because I remember enjoying a lot of it at the time, and some of them I haven't watched for quite a while. So yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. He doesn't want to. Actually, I'm not sorry.
What?
I'm not sorry about it.
Oh, you're not sorry about what?
Yeah, I was going to say. So sorry about that, guys. Chris doesn't want anything to do with you. But right. I'm not sorry.
What do you think would happen if we saw him in the street? Say me and you were plodding down Upton Park to the Who shop. No, we've just come out of the Who shop. We've just bought a poster of him, and we see him and we say, "Hey, Chris. Wow, fancy meeting you outside the Who shop. I've just bought a poster of you. Can you sign it for me?" What do you think he'd say, and keep it clean?
Keep it clean. I'm going to say, my gut feeling says that he would be, oh, very nice, and just kind of carry on walking.
He'd just, he'd just, he'd probably, I don't think he'd be rude, but he'd probably just try and get away from us as fast as possible.
Yeah, I don't think he would be outright rude. I think unless you caught him on a really good day and you had a Sharpie ready, he didn't have to stop too long. Maybe if he's in a really good mood, maybe. But my gut feeling says he would just try and move along.
You could hold him and I'll be like, yeah, sign this, moving his hand. Yeah.
We'll bundle him outside. And
oh, I hope it happens now.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So anyway, so I think that's pretty much all this week, isn't it, for news?
News-wise, I reckon, yeah.
Yeah. So shall we get into this week's review?
Let's do it.
Okay. So this week, it's The Doctor's Daughter.
They're getting ready to move out. We have to get past that guard.
Deal with him?
No. You're not going anywhere.
What?
You belong here with them.
She belongs with us. With you. She's your daughter.
She's a soldier. She came out of that machine.
Oh, yes, I know that bit. Listen, have you got that stethoscope? Give it to me. Come on. What are you doing? It's all right. Just hold still. Come here. Listen. and then tell me where she belongs.
Do you can't?
Exactly.
What's going on?
Does that mean she's a... What do you call a female Time Lord?
What's a Time Lord?
It's who I am. It's where I'm from.
And I'm from you.
You're an echo, that's all. A Time Lord is so much more.
Ah, great clip there, Gary.
I know it's what did you think to right before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode and so on, I just want to put this out there that do you think it's slightly creepy that David Tennant is now married to his on-screen daughter? Do you think that when they were going through like the reading of the story, the cast all got together and they were reading the story, obviously he would have had to look at Georgia Moffat as his daughter throughout the entire time that they were filming. It's not like, she's playing another character or anything like that. She's only known as David Tennant's daughter, or the Doctor's daughter, should I say.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't think anything of it really, but the more I think about it, it's more like, yeah.
Do you know, I hadn't actually even thought about that until, because I was thinking, I thought you were going to say because she's Peter Davison's daughter, isn't she?
Yeah.
And all that sort of thing. I hadn't even thought about it in terms of the fact. Yeah. Yes. Maybe if he ever rewatches the episode, he might feel a bit odd.
Yeah. The phrase "Who's your daddy?" takes on a whole
new meaning.
Doesn't it?
That's right. He also he dated. He obviously enjoyed his time as the Doctor because he also dated Madame de Pompadour, didn't he? I can't remember the actress's name.
No, he didn't. Did he?
Yes, he did.
Did he?
They went out for blimmin' ages. Yeah. So he obviously enjoyed his time as the 10th Doctor, the little rascal.
The girl in the fireplace.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Sophie Miles, is it?
Wow.
Yeah, he did. He was with her for a while. Anyway, we digress, mate. We're talking about David Tennant's conquest here. We should be talking about the Doctor's daughter.
Indeed. So this was Series 4, Episode 6. And wow, this was 7 years ago, 2008.
Oh, don't.
Wow.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was thrown because I haven't watched this one for quite some time, actually. And it starts, I think we talked about this a couple of episodes back as well. It kind of starts with them all being thrown around the TARDIS, like mid-episode. And
yes.
I wasn't prepared for that. I was thinking, what the hell's going on here? Because I'd forgotten it carried straight on from the previous story.
The Poison Sky.
Poison Sky, yeah, Sontarant one, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's it, yep.
So yeah, I was like, what's going on? And the other thing I completely forgotten about is that we've got Martha in the TARDIS again. Like, again, I just completely forgot that she was even in it. So yeah, I was like, okay, here we go. And I almost watched this episode with completely fresh eyes. I remembered so little about it from when it was first on, and it's possible I haven't even watched it since it first aired.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of it was almost like watching it for the first time in many ways. I really didn't remember much about it at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I've seen this episode twice. I watched it when I first picked up the Series 4 box set a few years back now, and I think I've watched it one more time because my wife really likes the next one, the Unicorn and the Wasp. Yes. So we end up just watching this series quite a lot because she likes this series. I don't know why, but So I think I've watched this another time after I initially watched it, and but that was a long time ago. Though it was at least a few years ago.
Oh, is it? What, since you last saw it?
Yeah. So this was kind of the same thing, really. I didn't remember all of the episode. There were a few things like Martha popping up, and it was kind of fresh for me as well. So
well, it's one of the reasons I wanted to rewatch it. Actually, I thought, well, here's a story that sort of gets it gets a bit of a bad press. Actually, I was thinking, here's a story I like I said, can't remember much about, and I thought it would be fun to go back and see, why have I not revisited this one? And I suppose I do remember before it aired, there was quite a lot of buzz about the title, The Doctor's Daughter. People were like, what's going on, The Doctor's Daughter, and all this. So there was a bit of a buzz about it. And I suppose the payoff might not have been what everyone expected.
Yeah, true.
You know,
Yeah.
and I mean, basically, you know, just to sort of recap, the Doctor lands on this. Well, actually, no, the TARDIS kind of takes him there, doesn't it, on purpose, to this planet.
Yeah.
And the Doctor gets a tissue sample immediately taken from him from this weird machine, and it creates Jenny, who's, you know, technically the Doctor's daughter, sort of there and then. I mean, it's quite a quick working machine, isn't it? You know, I was thinking this in terms of the sort of actual pacing of the story. It kind of just it cuts straight to the chase, you know, straight away. I think it's even before the opening credits, isn't it? You know, there she is. This woman steps out of a machine, and she's been supposedly produced from a tissue sample from the Doctor. So
Yeah.
and then the credits kick in, don't they? So we're thrown straight in there. Not really much of an explanation. That's it. Go with it.
Yeah. It's you kind of, it's one of those stories where you're just thrown straight into it. There's no warm up. It's you're straight in there. And what does she say when she steps out of the machine? Is it like "Hi, Dad" or something like that?
Something like, yes, that's right. Yeah, hello, Daddy, or something. And he just, like, his jaw drops, doesn't it, or something?
Yeah, and you immediately think, oh, what's going on? You know, it's quite intriguing right from the off.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a sort of, it's slightly comical, actually, up until that point, isn't it? There's a few sort of gags, and they're all throwing themselves around the TARDIS and stuff, and then it suddenly sort of turns serious after the credits, and but what no one else get, like, they only take the Doctor's tissue sample, don't they? They don't take any of the others, and I was wondering why. Like, you know, it's kind of just convenient for the plot, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? They didn't sort of then, because the reason they do it is to build an army, isn't it, or something? They're trying to build an army, so they sort of reproduce people from tissue samples, but they only do it to the Doctor, don't they? They don't bother with Martha or Donna.
No, they do the Doctor at the beginning, and that's it.
That's it, and then they sort of get into a war, because obviously there's this sort of two fighting fractions of people on this planet. The Hath.
The Hath, yep.
The Hath, and do the soldiers and all that, do they have a name?
No, it's just they just known as the Humans, isn't it? It's
the human. Well, but it's not set on Earth, though, is it?
No, it's a planet called Messaline.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
See, I only watched this yesterday, and bits of it just sort of didn't, you know, it's a fairly simple story. It's just bits of it didn't sort of, I didn't pick up on like that. Even now I was thinking, is it Earth? Where was this, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's basically it, isn't it? It's two fighting fractions. The Doctor gets caught in the middle of it. And in the meantime, they create this girl that's his daughter. So
yeah.
Yeah,
and she's the stories actually reminded me of because the way that it's structured is, as you say, there's two factions or two different races who are at war, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to find the source of the creator, isn't it? Because they feel that once they find it, that will give them ultimate power. And
that's
so
right. Yeah,
this actually, the story for this reminded me of Genesis of the Daleks.
Did it?
Not in the way that you're thinking. I can tell immediately. You're like, what?
Well, I was thinking, yeah. Whoa.
The only thing that I relate to that story is because at the beginning of Genesis of the Daleks, you've got the is it the Kaleds? The Kaleds?
Kaleds, yeah.
Kaleds, yeah. On one side, and you've got the humans on the other. Yeah. And it's very similar, where it's all corridors, and they're fighting to get to one place, because they're fighting over control of that whole space, aren't they? In Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You're right.
And it's the same with this. You've got two factions, and it's not like typical like military style warfare where it's all, you know, above ground and stuff. It's all very much like corridors, like, you know, famous for Doctor Who.
Actually, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Actually, I mean, I hadn't thought of that at all. But yeah, there is a similarity there. You're right.
Not in the way that you think. Like, oh my god, it's
no.
nothing like Genesis. Don't get me wrong. I'm not comparing the two in terms of, you know, story quality or story plot or anything like that. But, you know, the basis for how the Doctor gets involved is very similar. You know, he's caught in between two factions who are. It's a bit like Caves of Androzani as well.
Yes,
you know, underground, trying to fight, you know, to maintain or to try and get that area or whatever underground base they're trying to get to. very similar.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, I suppose it's one that's sort of been done. Like I said, it's a fairly sort of simple story, isn't it? And also, you're saying about corridors. Did you think the tunnel at the start? I immediately thought of Flatline.
Flatline, yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's the same location because I was like, oh, it's the Flatline tunnel. Although technically, I suppose it's the half tunnel as it was first.
I was going to say, yeah, it's their tunnel, isn't it?
So what did overall? I mean, I remember the first time I watched it. I remember finding it a bit slow. I think that's one of the reasons I haven't gone back to it. I don't remember it sort of leaving an everlasting impression on me. I remember thinking, oh, come on, get going. It seemed a bit padded, but I actually rather enjoyed it yesterday. Maybe I was in the mood for it, but it was not as bad as I remembered. If anything, it was better than I remembered.
Yeah, it was. To me, it's one of those episodes where, on paper, there's a lot going on. If you were to just read a synopsis of the story, you'd think, bloody hell, there's loads going on there. But when you actually watch it, it's fairly reasonably paced, and nothing crazy happens really. It's I also found it a little bit predictable as well.
Yeah.
Did you find that? It's
yeah.
I kind of, even though I'd seen it before, when I was watching it, my kind of subconscious kicked in, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember feeling how predictable the story was.
Yeah, I think that's what I was confusing with it. When I was thinking in my mind, I was thinking, oh, it's a bit of a slow slog. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's actually more the fact it is a bit predictable, so it doesn't quite keep your interest because you kind of can, see what's coming. Yeah. I think that's what it is. And I remember thinking the cast weren't that good before, but actually they're not too bad. I mean, I actually think, I'm talking about sort of supporting cast like the soldiers now. I remember thinking they were a bit drab, didn't really seem to be sort of into it.
Right.
And I still got that impression a bit, watching it yesterday. It kind of felt like some of the performances in it were a bit flat, especially the sort of lead guy, the guy that's sort of running the whole, human army or whatever they are.
Cobb, Nigel Terry.
Yeah. Going through the motions a bit.
Yeah, it was a bit, you could tell it was very scripted in his delivery.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What did you think? Sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, go on.
No, I was going to change the subject, so if you got something else on it.
No, I was just going to say, I did think, however, the actual main cast were firing on all cylinders, especially Tennant.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Good. Okay. Oh, phew. No, I was just going to say, I actually, one of the things that really stood out to me in this episode as a big plus and really raises the episode in terms of the score is Tennant. He is absolutely firing on all cylinders, I think, in this one. And Donna, actually, and Catherine Tate. I think she's got some really nice, humorous lines that actually work quite well, I think, in terms of the story. They don't feel out of place. They don't feel awkward. I actually think the pair of them are really, really good in this. And I do think Jenny, was it Georgia Moffat?
Georgia, yep.
Georgia Moffat. Yeah, I also think she was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So they actually do raise the episode, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What did you think to how Tennant was in this one, especially because it was kind of a unique relationship in this one. You never see, obviously, apart from Susan, you don't see any of the Doctor's family in anything, do you? So you never see a relationship that could be possible between his daughter and stuff like that. So I really liked how this episode transitioned. At the beginning, he was very non-accepting of her, wasn't he? And he was very much almost really abrupt and quite rude with her about, she'll never be Time Lord and all that kind of stuff. And towards the end of the episode, he kind of accepts her, and that's down to Donna, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. That's what I really liked, actually. It's I really invested in that on this second watch. I don't know, it must have just gone over my head the first time I watched it, because I don't remember having the same connection with the story as I did yesterday. I really liked that whole the way it was written. That the Doctor doesn't want anything to do with her. He doesn't really want to acknowledge it at all. And then it's when Donna sort of forces him to accept it. When she shows him that she's got two hearts.
Yeah.
Jenna's got two hearts, and and he starts seeing the similarities, and Donna sort of keeps pointing out those similarities to him, and he gradually comes around to it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was done really well, and I really did invest in that part of the story, and I enjoyed it actually.
Yeah.
And I think it's down to the performances. They sold it to me, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was the one thing that really kind of kept me going through the episode, really. And it was one of those things where it turned... I mean, a lot of people view this as just a very mediocre episode anyway. But for me, that relationship between the Doctor and Jenny, and then the constant kind of... when the Doctor's very much... He doesn't want anything to do with her and doesn't see her as his true daughter or as a true Time Lord. I love the way that Donna interjects there and says, you really shouldn't be that way. At the end of the day, regardless of how she's here, she's your daughter, and that she tries to really lay the human element within the Doctor, which is really important because the whole reason why the Doctor travels with a human companion is because it's really important he has that human aspect with him at all times. Because otherwise, when he travels by himself, as we know, he turns into a bit of a meanie. So I really like that whole relationship, and that's what turned it into a kind of it's an okay episode to an episode that I really like now, just purely based on that little plot device that runs through it. I really like it.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely agree with you, and that's the reason I love the Dr. Donna relationship. I really like Catherine Tate's character. I like a lot of fans. I was concerned when she was announced as the full-time companion at the beginning because of the Runaway Bride. I couldn't see it working. But this is the reason I actually grew to love the Ten and the Doctor and Donna relationship, because she brings that human side to him, and she sort of helps him, and there's none of this sort of lovey-dovey stuff getting in the way. It's all about their sort of friendship, and I thought it works incredibly well in this episode.
Yeah.
And the Doctor talks about, he actually sort of acknowledges that he's been a dad before, doesn't he? He actually says it outright.
Yeah, he does say, yeah.
They've sort of brushed around it a little bit up till now in the series, but that's the first time he actually comes out and says it.
It is,
and it's quite an important little sort of moment, I think.
Yeah, and that's a testament to David Tennant's acting, because when Donna tries to, when that subject comes up, he doesn't even have to say anything. It's his face.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You know instantly that, yes, something pretty tragic, happened to his family.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm loving about rewatching these Tennant episodes is that I always liked David Tennant as the Doctor, but I never rated him that high.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. When Smith took over, I was like, oh no, this is the Doctor. Quirky, mad, is a bit more sort of like that. Whereas I always enjoyed Tennant as a Doctor, but I never really saw him as the Doctor fully somehow. Right. There was always something a bit too human, a bit too thing. But I'll tell you what, rewatching these episodes, I am really, really starting to appreciate David Tennant as the Doctor a lot more than I did. Okay. And it is moments like you've just mentioned where it's just his face. It's nothing in the dialogue. It's just the performance he's given.
Yeah.
That is just brilliant. And I'm definitely. I've always thought he was a good Doctor. Don't get me wrong, but if you'd have said to me he's the best Doctor, I would have been no. He's not the best Doctor. And I still don't think he is the best Doctor. But he is a great Doctor. There's no doubt about it. And it is moments like that I think cement that for me.
Absolutely, mate. Totally.
And I'll tell you what, I think we haven't mentioned much about Martha.
Oh yeah.
Martha gets a hard time. I know one of my friends absolutely hates the character, can't stand Martha. Me personally, I really like her. I think she's a great companion, and I think she's believable.
Yeah, I don't mind Martha at all, really. I think I think she's one of those companions where she's split in half for me. There are times when I think she's a really strong person and a strong companion, and she works really well with David Tennant as the Doctor.
Yeah,
there are just times where she goes, during series 1 and 2, especially 2, where Rose was very much just kind of gushing over David Tennant the entire time, because you've got that potential love interest there. There are times where I think Martha goes down that road quite a few times, and she wants to be more than just, the Doctor's companion, and that kind of puts me off very slightly. However, she's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. That is the problem with the character, because I like Martha. I like the fact, like in this episode, they use the fact that she's a doctor to, that's how she befriends the Hath and shows them that she's not going to hurt them. I like that,
Yeah.
But I agree with you where they went wrong with her character was going down the same route of her falling in love with the Doctor. And, the only good bit about that for me was when she realizes that he doesn't want anything to do with her in her last ep. And she's like, like my friend said, you got to get out and all that. I love that scene.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's the only bit of it that worked for me. But yeah, that's where they went wrong with the characters. They just sort of did Rose Part 2 really with that.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But I think she works well in this story.
She's cool in this one.
She's used to effect. She's not just lost in corridors. She joins the other team. So you've then got the Doctor on one side, Martha on the other, and they're both working together to get the same goal. And I like that.
No, I agree. She's quite cool in this, and she's got it's quite a cute little relationship she has with one of the Hath as well, because he's kind of sacrifices himself, and she gets very upset, and it's all kind of cute.
Yeah, I'd totally forgotten about that poor old Hath dying. In fact, in my notes, when they were walking around and she falls in the swamp. I'd written down story starts to get a bit of padding going on here, but then he died, and I was thinking, oh yeah, okay, it does have a point. Because it started to feel to me like they were the episode was getting a little bit lost, a little bit padded around that point. But I like the design of the Hath. I think they're quite interesting. They do look a bit man in a rubber suit, I suppose. Maybe a sign of the times. But I do think they actually look pretty good.
Yeah, and we see one pop up at the end of David Tennant's very last episode. He's in there. He leaves a note for Captain Jack in the bar, and you see one of them milling around.
That's right.
It's a bit like a cantina from Star Wars kind of scene where it's a bar and it's just got loads of monsters from Doctor Who and from the past 3 series, whatever.
That's right. He's at the end, isn't he? I've forgotten about that. Yeah. But I do think once we get to the actual end of the episode, I think we come into some really good territory. When they find the whatever that thing is, and it rejuvenates the planet.
The terraformer,
the terraformer, and and I think that's quite interesting. And then obviously that guy then goes to shoot the Doctor, doesn't he? And because people will lay down their weapons, so they sort of declare a truce, don't they?
Yeah.
And then, but apart from the main soldier guy, who I don't like, and I can't remember his name, Cobb. Yeah. So he suddenly and this is the bit I don't get. Why does he suddenly decide everyone's declared peace? They've all seen the light. Why does he then go to shoot the Doctor? What's that about? Is he just really annoyed?
Yeah, I think it's just because he's... I think the idea behind it is, with Jenny, she's the daughter of a Time Lord. So she has a lot of those, at some points, not on the surface, but she has a lot of qualities of that race, because that's what she is. And if you remember, the story it was revealed that all of this stuff has only happened over, 5 or 6 days, 7 days, because everybody's been their DNA's been used to create soldiers like instantly. So what's happened is the human race is kind of all of their internal stuff that makes up our DNA has been transferred really quickly, but it looks like a long space of time. So that guy Cobb, the only thing that he's known is war against the Hath.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? So he doesn't know anything else. He doesn't really know about forming truces, and he's not really interested in living in harmony with the Hath. All he knows, because that's that's the line that he's come from. All he knows is like death and war, really. So.
And I suppose the Doctor represents the opposite of that.
Exactly.
So it annoys him. Yeah. He's thinking, no, this guy, this isn't right. Yeah. And he shoots. Obviously, then Jenny gets in the way, takes the bullet, and dies. And that's again, this comes back to a great performance, I think, between Tennant and Mrs. Moffat, Miss Moffat.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite well done. And this is the only bit of the episode I could remember from the first time, up until now, was the bit where the Doctor gets the gun and you've just got those drums pounding. That's when we said we were going to review this, that was the solitary scene that I could remember.
Okay, cool.
And I think it's because it's a very powerful scene. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, it's a bit strong. Like, because it does last. It's probably not that long, but it feels like a long time that the Doctor's got that gun at the guy's head. And he's really cross. And again, Tennant's given a fantastic performance, isn't he? He looks like he's
brilliant.
He's snapped. You think that's it. The Doctor has finally snapped and he's going to blow this guy's head off. Obviously, he's not going to. But don't you think it's well done?
It's
the way
brilliant.
It's like,
yeah.
And, the drums are kicking it. I just think it's a really powerful scene. And then he obviously flips the gun around and he says, what is it? I never would. I never would.
I never would. Yeah.
I never would. And I just thought, I love that scene. I think it's brilliant. I think it just, sums up the whole Doctor, really. He never would.
Exactly. And he's come close a couple of times, but yeah, he never would.
Well, that's one of the scenes that I think works. Tennant's Doctor works best. This is again comes back to me realizing what a great Doctor Tennant was, because he just rips that scene apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole subject of this story is sort of war and soldiers, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep.
Again, which kind of sort of ties in a little bit with the new series.
What, the Doctor's kind of complete and utter dislike of anyone in the military?
Well, yeah, this whole sort of soldier and war thing.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's a bit more sort of shoved down your throat a bit more in this episode. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, out of 10 time.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah. Go on.
I'm going to give this a 7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no. 7.5. Sorry, 7.5.
Oh no!
Sorry.
I was going to say I've written 7.5. Actually, I wrote 7 to begin with, and then I changed the O to a 5. This is yesterday when I watched it. I couldn't decide. It's got moment. I enjoyed it a lot more than I remembered. I actually really enjoyed rewatching it.
Yeah.
So I was sort of stuck between 7 and 7.5, but I have gone with 7.5. And I will just like to say before we sort of wrap up, Jenny does live at the end. She does regenerate. And I thought that is a very nice scene. And I'm absolutely amazed that she hasn't been brought back.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
That's the last thing I've written on my pad.
Okay.
Jenny lives, amazed she hasn't returned, because she's out there. And I love that, because they leave it long enough for you to think she actually has died. And then she just slowly, sort of that stuff comes out of her mouth. And she's, she's back alive.
Yeah.
Nicely done. So I hope she does return. I think it's important she does.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
But great minds though, because the reason why I said that first, because I've got a 7, but then when I turn over, I've changed it to a 7.5.
Well, I've done exactly the same.
Yeah,
I've actually done exactly the same. I've written over the 0 with a 5, because I just sort of liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I actually really enjoyed rewatching it. It's by no means perfect. It has its issues, but I think there's a lot of good stuff in this episode, and definitely doesn't deserve the sort of hard time it does sometimes get. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking of which, our listeners have brought in some comments, and they are very varied on this one, aren't they?
It's good.
Very mixed response on this episode.
Indeedy. So thanks guys for getting in touch, and we've got let's have a look. Facebook. Stuart Stockwin. He says, personally, I think the people who don't like this episode as much should watch this in the middle of worst episodes. For example, Crimson Horror, 42, Love and Monsters, The Doctor's Daughter, and In the Forest of the Night, and then they'll see how underrated it is. So I think what he's saying is, if you look at this in comparison to some truly awful Doctor Who episodes, then you'll see that this one isn't as bad.
Yeah, and I think he's got a point. Actually, Stuart did also leave a comment on my Facebook, on the Geeks Handbag Facebook, actually. And I think it's worthy of reading out as well, because I think he makes a good point. He says, guns, war, Doctor Who. If you told me to watch this story a few years ago, I would have said no. But the whole concept of it is brilliant. I can't really say why I enjoy this story, because it's too difficult. But the only thing I don't like is the name of the episode, because it promises so much, but gives so little. I give the episode, because it's an enjoyable enough episode, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
So I think Stuart's right. It's, you know,
Yeah.
it's not one you're going to say is an absolute classic, but there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah. Kieran Knight, thank you, Kieran. The story is watchable, but one of the worst of New Who when I think about it. The soldiers are bland, and the Doctor's reason for hating them is completely unjustified. The twist changes nothing in the story, and the Hath are uninventive. Donna's weakest episode, though I like Martha and Jenny. Looking forward to the podcast. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm not really sure I agree with the Donna as being it's her weakest episode. I think it's one of her strongest.
I liked her a lot in this one. Yeah. No, I wouldn't agree with that. But again, it's great to get a different point of view, and you know, I do respect it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Harry Westergaard, he says, a pretty good episode. Some parts of it drag or can feel rushed. Great design of the Hath, and some of the ideas presented are quite interesting. I would agree about the Hath. I liked the design of them.
Yeah, I thought
they looked a little bit sort of rubber suit, but I thought that I liked the fishy thing in the face or whatever it was. I think they look pretty good.
Yeah, a couple of short ones from Harry and Owen. So Harry Williams says really great episode, smiley face. Owen Salmons, love it. Jenny is such a great character.
Oh, interesting. I don't know why I didn't think Owen would like this one, but I'm glad he does. Robert Lithgow. Now Robert, I love this comment, even though I don't agree with it. It did make me chuckle. Robert Lithgow says, horrible, boring, useless, full of cop-outs, poorly written, rubbish aliens, rubbish characters, half-hearted, manipulative ending, and nothing to the story at all. Absolute tosh, 2 out of 10.
Ooh.
So Robert really doesn't like this one. And thanks for commenting, Robert. I don't agree with you, mate, but your comment did make me laugh. I like the fact you didn't mince your words there.
Yeah, fair play. Matt over at Who Addicts Reviews. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Says a fantastic episode, and I don't see why it gets as much slack as it does. It's a lovely story between the humans and the Hath. Seeing the Doctor acting like a father was great, and the ending was beautifully written. Just because it's surrounded by great episodes, it looks bad. But as a story on its own, it's very underrated. P.S. Jenny needs to return.
Yes, I think she does. I totally agree.
Yeah, cheers, Matt.
And finally, and this comment got 3 likes. So 3 people really agreed with this person. I'm just going to see who they were very quickly. Harry Westergaard agreed. Spence Horton Harper agreed. Oh, and you agreed, but you might have just been liking that you left a comment. Noah Christopher, he says, very promising in the beginning, and then it got progressively more boring.
Ooh.
I think the opposite, actually, because I once the Doctor starts realising he's got to accept this whole daughter thing, I actually quite liked it. But I sort of see where it's coming from. There was a bit of padding in the middle.
Yeah. Just one more on the actual Facebook page. Ryan Anthony, I think it's okay, but was made to look terrible by the other great stories surrounding it in Series 4. Quite a common theme, that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Series 4 is a strong series, actually. I've always liked Series 4. So, maybe it just gets a bit lost in the mix. But for me, definitely not a bad episode. I quite enjoyed it.
7.5 out of 10 for us.
Yeah.
Indeedy.
A fair rating. Thanks for all your comments, guys.
Thank you very much. And I think we're going to wrap, dude.
Okay.
So, I hope you've had a cool time listening to us chat and chew the fat and go for everything about the Doctor's daughter. It's one of those episodes where I really enjoy talking about it afterwards, because, like I said earlier, we try and pick episodes that are not the terribly popular ones that everyone expects us to talk about. These are the ones that often divide opinion and get good banter going between us. So I really enjoy talking about these type of episodes where people destroy them or they love them. And Doctor's Daughter, really good one.
Yeah, I concur.
You concur.
And next week, I'm looking forward to next week, we're going to be revisiting a classic.
Yes.
And it's going to be The Demons. So give us your thoughts on The Demons. That'll be next week's podcast.
The Demons. Now, is this one, the way that this episode is spelt, is it the Demons or the Daemons? How can somebody confirm this for us?
I think it's the Daemons. I always get this wrong. I think it's the Daemons, isn't it?
Because I always want to say the Demons.
Yeah, so do I, and I always do, and I think I'm wrong. Someone can let us know in the comments. It's the Damons, I think.
Okay, right.
Like an old-fashioned way of saying it, and yeah,
right.
Thanks for picking me up on that because I always do it.
Oh yeah, me too. So
Yeah,
Pertwee.
Pertwee, a fantastic podcast next week.
Cool. So as always, just jump onto Facebook and Twitter. Let us know your thoughts on that one. The Damons. Just go to bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and on there you'll find links to the social stuff. Just jump on there, let us know your thoughts. That'll be awesome. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And Alonzi!